remind you of what we did, and then we will continue talking about our DNS servers, because as I said, DNS servers are the backbone of the internet. Without DNS servers, there is no internet. So I will talk more about those. And then we will talk about, we will try to answer a very important question. The question we'll answer after talking about the DNS is, if a computer on the internet uses Windows, and other computer uses Linux, and a third computer uses a third operating system, how do they talk to each other? What is the common language that computers use to talk to each other on the internet? Okay, so we'll try to answer this question today as well. The first question we'll talk about is the DNS, and we will get into more depth in this regard. So I'm going to share my whiteboard again. We review what we did last week, and then we will take it from there. Okay. So we did an example about sending an email last week. So let's change this example. Let's make it, we are accessing a website, some website from our computers, right? So let's say, right, let's assume that we are now working inside CSUMB. So we are all, this is a CSUMB network, okay? Right, so this is the CSUMB network. Okay. And this is your computer. So this is, your computer is right there. Okay. Right. And each computer has an address. The address of the computer is called the IP address. Okay. So the IP address is the internet address of each computer. So it's typically something like this. Okay. For example, right? This is the address of your computer, and you open your browser and type, I want to access www.cnn.com. Okay, so you want to visit cnn.com on your browser. Okay, cnn.com. Right? Right. Now, each network on the internet has something called a gateway. Okay, a gateway is a device that can be a server, it can be a router, it can be many network devices. I won't get into more details. The thing that you want to know about this gateway, okay, right? The thing that you want to know about this gateway is it connects the internal network to the internet. Okay, so all the computers inside CSUMB network are connected to the internet using this gateway. This is usually a router. This is usually a router. Okay. Right. So the router will take this cnn.com and will forward it to, as we mentioned, a DNS server. So we have here a DNS server, domain name server, DNS server. Okay. And this is the CNN network. Okay. Network, and it also has a gateway. Okay. Right. The gateway of the CNN network has an IP as well. Let's say the IP is 212.101.144.5, for example, whatever, right? So what happens is you want to access cnn.com. So what will happen is this URL cannot be used. It has to be converted to an address. So your gateway is going to forward the cnn.com address to the DNS, cnn, okay, .com. And then the DNS server is going to reply with the IP address of cnn.com. So the DNS server is going to reply saying, yes, the IP address of cnn.com is 212.101.144.5. Okay. And therefore, you will know the address. And once you know the address, you can use this address to access cnn.com. Okay, so this is how the internet works. Now there are many hubs here, or many hops here, or many servers here that the traffic goes through until it reaches cnn.com, right? But the main thing that you need to know here, guys, is the role of the DNS. The role of the DNS is it receives the URL from the client, from your computer, from your network, and resolves it, or gives you the corresponding IP address. Okay. If there is no DNS, if the DNS goes down, if this DNS is down, then okay, what happens is there is no way to resolve this URL to the address, and therefore you are not going to be able to access this website. Okay, so if there is no DNS, you won't be able to access this website. Okay, let me show you an example, a real example. Let me open my browser. Okay, right? So once I do like this, www.cnn.com, it's going to open the website. Before this website opens, there was a request sent to the DNS, and we received response, and this is displayed. Let's write an imaginary website, so something like this. .com. Okay. Okay. You see that this site can't be reached. Okay. And you can see the error right here. It says DNS probe finished, no domain. That means that the DNS did
So
not
we can see
find.
what's on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Right. So again, I will do it again, cnn.com. Okay. CNN.com is displayed successfully. How is it displayed? Exactly in the same method we talked about. A request was sent to the DNS. We got a reply with the IP, and we used the IP to access CNN. Now I'm going to enter some imaginary website, anything.com, right? There is no such a domain. Okay, and okay. Okay. Oh, I put something wrong. Okay. You will see that we have this site can't be reached. Okay. And the error is DNS probe finished, no domain, which means that the DNS searched its list of domains and did not identify this domain. And therefore, it couldn't send you to the right place. Okay. So this tells you that DNSs are the first step for you to access any website. If there is no DNS, there is no website. Okay. Does everyone understand so far, guys? Any questions so far? Okay. Right. So I have a question here now. If you don't have a question, I have a question. Now, online right now, there are more than 3 billion URLs. So there are 3 billion websites on the internet. How can these websites be saved on one DNS? Think about how long it will take to search 3 billion websites on a DNS. It's going to take forever. It's going to take an hour, right? But this is not what happens. What happens is you just type in the URL, and within less than a second, you go to the correct website, right? So this is a logical diagram of the DNS, but this is not how actually the DNSs are organized on the internet, okay? So based on this diagram, we will look at how DNS servers are organized on the internet so that you can access your websites as fast as possible. Okay, so I'm going to use this presentation. Okay. Okay. Right. So as we mentioned, each domain has its own IP address, right? The server has IP address. Okay. These are some of the examples, and we said that the domain name servers have the ability to translate the URLs to IP addresses. Okay, DNS servers are also able to do the other thing around. You give them an IP address and they respond with the URL. Okay, so it can happen either way. Okay. 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 Now, if you look at the internet, you will find that we have a few root domains that we use for all websites. Root domains like the .com, .edu, .org, uh, tech, .club. There are so many, there are quite a few of them right now, right? Originally, they were only .edu, .com, .org, .net. These were the main root domains, but now we have many of these, okay? So these root domains are essential in organizing the internet, essential in organizing the internet, okay? So if you go to, okay, let me get this bigger. Okay, so if you look here, this is how the DNS domains, the DNS servers are organized on the internet, okay? We have one big DNS called the root DNS. This is the main DNS of the internet. And then under this DNS, we have DNSs for each domain name, right? So for each domain, root domain. So .com, org, net, edu, TV, US, and so on, okay? So each one of these is called a root domain, okay? And then under each of these root domains, we have all the websites that fall under these domains. So edu, we have UCLA, USC, CSUMB, and so on and so forth. Com, we have CNN, we have Fox News, we have CNBC, and so on and so forth, right? So, and then under each of these domains, we have the local domains or subdomains of them, like in our CSUMB, for example, we have College of Business, we have College of Science, we have library, and so on. Okay, so the internet is developed or is organized in a hierarchical or tree format. This makes search very fast. So if you type if you want to get the address of csumb.edu, for example, okay, so the first thing the DNS will look at is the last part, the edu. It will find that it is a .edu, so it's going to take this path. It's going to go to the edu path, and then within the edu path, it will select csumb, right? And if you want to get to library.csumb.edu, then you are going to search CSUMB until you reach the library, okay? And therefore, things are faster. When you type a URL, the DNS does not need to search everything, does not need to search all the websites in the world. They just need to search fifth or 1/10 of these websites, right? It searches the edu and then searches for the website itself until it gets to the domain you want, okay? Right? So this is a hierarchical format, okay? Right? Any questions about DNSs, guys? This is a presentation I was using, right? Okay, I was using this presentation, right? We have this root domain, and then we have the com, org, net, edu, tv, us, and all the root domains. And for each of these root domains, we have the websites under the domain. So edu, we have UCLA, USC, CSUMB, CSULB. And then under CSUMB, we have the subdomains or the departments of CSUMB, if you may say, right? So if you want to access library.csumb.edu, then you go to edu, search, you go to the root, identify that your URL ends with .edu. So you go to the edu section, start searching it until you find CSUMB, and then you search CSUMB until you reach your desired department or subdomain. Okay, and therefore we are saving time. We don't have to search everything together. We don't have to search through everything. We only want to search through the hierarchy of the URL address. Okay, right? So the DNS are organized hierarchically on the internet. They are not one big DNS. There are multiple DNSs on the internet. Okay. All right. Final thing about DNS before we move to the next topic. What happens if there is no DNS? If this DNS goes down, what will happen?
Wouldn't there be no internet? Or at least at that.
Yeah. If the DNS goes down, then you are not going to be able to access any of the sites stored on this DNS. Okay, so if CNN.com is stored on this DNS, then you will not be able to reach CNN.com. You won't be able to get there. You will think that the internet is down, but it is not down. Okay, right? So this is one of the very famous attacks on the internet. In some years or in some occasions, the last one was last year, hackers attack the internet main DNS servers, the .edu.com servers on the internet, and they bring them down. Once they bring these DNS servers down, then the internet seems to be down. So that happened, I think, last year. They attacked these DNS servers, and we lost connection to most of the main websites, Facebook, Google, and so on. We lost access to them for few hours, right? So this is one of the most famous attacks on the internet, is attacking the DNS servers. Once these DNS servers are down, you can't access any website. Okay, right. So if you go to your browser and you start typing an address, cnn.com or facebook.com or csumb.com, and you cannot access this website, then there can be several things that are preventing you from accessing the website. First, the website itself can be down. So if there is maintenance or problems with the server hosting the website, then it can be down, and therefore you cannot access the website. Or the DNS server itself is down, and therefore you are unable to access the website. Okay, so DNSs are essential. If there is no DNS, there is no internet. Okay. Anyone wants to have any questions come to mind here, guys?
If you memorize the IP address, could you connect that way?
Yes. So if you know the address, if you know the IP address of CNN.com, you can use it and access CNN.com directly. Okay. Yes, that's correct. All right, I have done that. Sometimes the DNS servers are down, and not recently, but a few years ago, and I did use the IP addresses of some of the websites that I go to often, and I use these IPs to access the website. So yes, you can access the website. If you know the IP of the website, you can use it in the browser, and it will take you there as well. Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you. Right.
Professor, you just type it right in and hit enter, and it'll take you there.
Right, like this. Let's find out what is the CNN website. Okay, this is it. Okay.
We can't see your screen.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, this is the ping we did last week, still there. So this is CNN.com website. Okay. So if I go to my browser, and start typing this, it can change. So they might have changed it. So let's do another ping. Okay, yeah, you can see it. They changed the IP address, which happens sometimes to prevent hacking attacks. So sometimes websites would change their IP addresses to prevent being attacked